Hi, Missy.
Hi.
So much for lending us your time and your expertise and joining us for Ladies Who Launched, which is a 4-part video series that is meant to serve female entrepreneurs. And the reason I wanted to have this conversation with you today is because of your special perspective as a business coach for hairstylists and a really strong understanding of social media, which is really where we're going to be focusing a ton today. That's interesting. And then you also own your own hair salon, which is Collab & Co. in Tequesta, Florida, and you're a hairstylist. So you have a lot of different things going on. You busy.
Yeah, and when you put anytime like I try to come up with like this bio or an intro, I'm like, how can I word this where I don't sound like a crazy person? Because there's one thing to say like you do a lot of things, but there's also sometimes I'm like, do I sound like a jack of all trades, master of none? Because I'm like all the things.
I feel you completely, but absolutely not. I think this is like, you have so many specialties that that we all need right now. So thank you for doing this and really giving your time, really. So I'm going to dive right in because I'm sure a lot of people want to know. So as someone who specializes in hair, and we're going to be focusing on social media, tell me about your why right now. Like, what is allowing you to keep showing up?
Yeah, I think for me, in order to just put myself out there in a social media perspective from the get-go, I had to understand it as coming from a place of education and service, period, or else there's that like nasty, creepy monster of self-involved and narcissism and all of those things that we can tell ourselves that showing up digitally is. And so for me, I've always had to feed it in order to be comfortable with it through this vein of service and education.
Okay, so one of the things you just said brought up the word connection to me. So I'm going to use that as a pivot to social media. And that makes me think about all the platforms, and you can be on a million different platforms, but do you find being on one specifically, and I'd love to hear which one, allows you to be more connected with your audience?
Yes, I think for sure you have to be dialed into where your audience lives as well. And not lives in your actual, obviously, geography, but where you think that they're going to be spending most of their time. I'm going to say this as well, though. You also are, education shortens time. So the more comfortable you are with a certain platform, the more comfortable you are able to get with it, the more education you're able to get on a certain platform. That also translates as well. So for a hairstylist, Instagram really just is the place to be. That really is our mode of communicating with each other because it's a very visual platform versus Facebook. Now, I would argue that our salon, ideal client avatar might actually spend equal amount of time on Facebook. But for me as a business owner, I know that my strong suit really lies in the power of Instagram. So I capitalize my time resources towards Instagram, and then I repurpose content to Facebook. I don't ignore it, but I'm thinking Instagram forward typically, and then repurposing towards Facebook, if that makes sense.
Oh, yes, it makes tons of sense. And for those who understand it, that's kind of the Hail Mary is repurposing, right? We hear that.
Oh, cross-pollination.
Love it. We're talking about your salon in Tequesta. Who is the customer there?
Yeah, so the customer there is basically someone that's we have a broad range, right? This is not anybody who doesn't fit this demographic. It doesn't mean that they're not welcome. It's just our messaging is tailored towards literally our environment. We are tailored towards the Tequesta female. And she is the modern Teclessa female, I should say, because there's like this uprising. So she's in her mid to late 30s to 40s, and she's got a little bit more of a sophisticated taste. She wants to invest in her look. She is a mom, but maybe she has a side hustle, or she works a little bit too, but she really wants to take that time for herself. She understands the importance of that. She's got style. We speak to her. We speak to her in our messaging. And then obviously, I have people that don't have kids and are 19, but we're speaking to her because it's our geography. It's the demographic of the place that we're in, but it's also just the type of person that our service translates well to. So it's your service that you're offering has to match who you're going after as well.
Totally. So that's your bullseye, and everything else on the outside. Awesome. And just full disclosure here, I go to Missy Salon. So you just described me, like I'm right in that, all the things.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I want to know if someone's just getting into Instagram and this is really helpful to them and they want more, do you have a course that you would recommend, either yours or someone else's, that they can start getting into it?
Oh man. So all of my Instagram knowledge really came from kind of one-on-one coaching and then a Google search bar, really. So I would get advice and have like a deep dive with a coach. And then I would sort of play around with it myself and kind of go about it that way. And so yeah, I mean, I offer one-on-one social media auditing. And I'm happy to have for basically service-based providers, because the message and the things that I coach to for hair really translate to anything with a service-based industry. I actually helped my husband, who owns an insurance agency, like figure out his digital voice, which was definitely interesting because I'm like, this is not hair. But yeah, I would say, whether it's me or it's somebody else, I personally don't know of an all-inclusive Instagram course that I have seen to be super productive. I really think because it involves your messaging and your demographic and all of those things, having somebody help you get through those things and then really taking it on your own and then researching it from there is the best way to go.
Okay, so we're talking about like launching the Instagram or getting into Instagram, learning it, but obviously this moment in time is just weird and different, and all of us are off of our footing and trying to figure it out. So what kind of advice can you give in terms of being authentic and also being sensitive to what's going on?
Yeah, I think authenticity, like you said, really is the key of how you have to put yourself out there. That's the bottom line. And I think you can overanalyze the sensitivity part. I think as long as you are showing up with an attitude of service and education, and you are, I always call it like edited authenticity. Like a really great way of putting it is if you were in person with that guest, like say you have an e-commerce business, what if you were selling them that in person? Would you communicate with them that way? That's sort of how you should show up online. You can still be yourself, but you don't maybe need to have full exposure. And then knowing that you might not be for everybody, and that's okay.
So what about selling right now? And that's happening a lot on social media. So I want to know your take on that.
Yeah, I just launched a course in the middle of this. 2 hairstylists that are out of work. So that was a lot of soul searching and kind of figuring out how I was going to approach that. And that really did involve some mindset work for me to work through what that was. And I was very, very confident that I'm showing up and offering and serving my audience a lot. I provide a lot of free, no strings attached education, a lot of things that they can get their hands on without even having to have an email opt-in. And people see that, you guys, now. Like, people are smart to marketing. They just are. And so if you are adding value, and it's coming from a place of service and you feel like what you have to offer is something that could help somebody right now, then you need to offer it.
All right, so I have my last question, and it's hard to choose because I probably have 20 more that I want to ask you, but I'm going to ask you about your favorite systems and strategies, because if Instagram is the main one you're focusing on, you don't necessarily, like you said, only want to show up there. So how do you do that in a way that doesn't completely overwhelm you?
I have to be 100% honest about this question. I do have a system, but I also do have help. And so part of my system is help. I show up, my hands are fully clasped around Instagram. I create my content for that. I write all the copy for that. I do all of the engagement on my coaching page. I do have help with the engagement on my salon page, just because typically when we are like living life, I can't be at that that requires a little bit more immediate response. So I have systems in place. People are our salon business managers. They're liking and commenting and getting back to people during the day. So I focus my time and my messaging around Instagram. And then what I have an assistant do, who it's a virtual assistant, she takes all of the content that I create and she repurposes it for Pinterest. So she links my Instagram post, she creates custom pins in Canva, back to my website. She links my blogs to that, and she manages that entirely. I don't look at it. I have delegated that and handed it off because like we were talking earlier, I do have my hands in a lot of different things and I can't do it all. So I'm sort of, Instagram is my hub. It's my mothership, all of the things, like the main whatever. That's my brainchild. And then it's repurposed to Pinterest. We have a consistent Pinterest strategy that we operate there. We use Later as our scheduling platform because Later is able to house Facebook, Pinterest, and actually multiple Instagram accounts. So I'm able to schedule and map out both my coaching, my salon Instagram, Pinterest for my coaching, and Facebook for my coaching, all from there. She also manages my Facebook. That is where we never upload things the same day, same time, because you don't want people who just saw it on Instagram to then just see it on Facebook, hypothetically, if they're navigating the two platforms. So we kind of shift around how that content is delivered. And then Facebook, we also deliver longer form. If I do write a blog, then it's uploaded, actually the link to Facebook. That's a great thing about Facebook, that you can link things directly there for people to click on. So that's sort of my strategy for delivering my content.
Yeah, and I love what you said too, because you gave people permission. I think something like being a woman, being a business owner and a woman, a lot of us are moms. We feel like we have to do everything. Really successful people have people behind them. That's just how it works. So although people are showing up on all these platforms, they're probably not doing it alone if they also have a job. And
No,
that actually, yeah.
There's no way. If you see somebody that is showing up and they're showing up well and they're showing up consistently, and I'm just going to say this because, I'm a straight shooter, and what they are promoting is producing revenue, then they have people behind them. If someone is just there all the time and they just seem very busy, then clearly those posts aren't actually producing jobs in the background. But if someone, and ideally, if we're all going to put time into that, then it's producing revenue that's keeping us busy off of Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest and all the things.
Yeah.
Then we have people in our back pocket, and it's hard to delegate that. It's very hard. I'm still learning how to do it. But it's necessary for scaling.
Right. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why we had Missy on. Thank you. You're incredible. I really appreciate this and all your time and all that stuff. So I will see you very soon. And with that, mwah.
Thank you.